Hey, there we go. It says that I am live. And interesting point of fact, I put this out the other day and I scheduled this and said anxiety, right? So this whole series is about how to combat anxiety. And in this one, I wanted to say, uh, let's see if it does it. It's not going to do it. That's all right. We'll just remove it. So never mind. I got stuff working in the background here. So we are on Facebook and YouTube Live right now. And that's because I'm too late. I'm too late for my own live to actually go to LinkedIn. Now, this whole thing was, hey, how do we talk about stress? How do we talk about anxiety, especially in the entrepreneur space, right? And inside that mainframe of what does it look like to run a business and all of the things that come against us? Well, I had scheduled some time. What the heck is that? Okay. See, more more stress. Next door neighbor just fired up something with it without an exhaust pipe on it. So I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it's pretty loud on my side. So anyway, I had to teach a class today, and I scheduled the anxiety journaling to relief session that I'm doing right now. I scheduled that for right after that class. Well, of course, during that class, people had questions, people wanted to more clarifications, and then I had to do a couple of website reviews for students that were in that class and look at their websites, their retail businesses that sell boats. And so next thing you know, 2.5 hours goes by and it's like, oh my goodness, I had that live to do. Now, the real side of it is you and I both know, even if you're watching this on the replay, people aren't setting their alarm clocks to when Kurt goes live on social. I know that. I know that. However, I did set it to a schedule and then I didn't show up on schedule. So if somebody was waiting for it to go live at a specific time, you have my apology. Absolutely. You have my apology for that. But we need to keep forging forward, keep moving forward. I didn't want to not do the content. I didn't want to just skip over it and act like it didn't happen because maybe journaling is the message that you needed. Maybe journaling is the idea or the concept that maybe you thought of but didn't execute on, or maybe you never thought of it. And you're like, what is Kurt talking about? Journaling to relief from anxiety. And here's my thoughts on this. And I'm just going to be blunt and honest because I think that's the only way to communicate with people in this real world. And that is, I used to think journaling was for weak people, for sissies, a waste of time. Um, and I'm sure that I'm using terms that old people use that young people find offensive. Please just bear with me and extend me some grace as I try to express myself here. I just didn't feel that journaling was the thing that, a strong person needed to lean on to get through things. But here's what I found. I am an entrepreneur that likes to explore and play in multiple verticals. So I have public speaking, I have authorship, I have training that I do, I have different agencies and products that I represent, and then of course I have my own agency, digital marketing agency, focused largely on membership and learning websites for other corporations. So I've got these verticals, and what will happen is there's different email addresses and different calendars and different obligations for each of these verticals. For instance, I said I was teaching today. Well, when I taught today, it was for the Marine Retailers Association. When I teach next Tuesday, it's going to be for the Power Sports Academy in the power sports field. When I teach next Wednesday, it's going to be for two different classes. One is going to be a class that's on the fourth week of their Marine Retailers Association series, and one that's going to be starting its first week in rotation at the Marine Retailers Association. So I'll actually be doing two classes at the same time. And so, as you can imagine, that's a lot of contacts, a lot of people, a lot of different email addresses to keep up with, a lot of different lists and calendars to keep up with. So, what happens is you get lost in some of that. Now, my idea of journaling and someone else's idea of journaling are going to be three or four different things. But and I will turn mine on just to kind of give you a little display of what I do here. So, and this isn't a really good example because I didn't really have today filled in too well, but this will give you an idea. This was yesterday. Okay, so yesterday, let me get the pen off of there. Yesterday, I have this. Okay, so this is a remarkable tablet that I found to be almost irreplaceable. It's distraction free. It doesn't have other apps in it, and so it allows me to work through my day. Right. So I have the schedule for my day. I have the notes for my day. There we go. My notes for the day. And then if I want to journal anything out, I've got a journal page. Now, that gives you in page space. I used to be somebody that I used to use a planner, not a journal, but I had a planner. And I used to use the what was it called? I think it was called the Daily Runner or something like that. And when you got like, I used to really like to plan my day. So it was like 2 pages per day. So you ended up having to have like half a book for the first half of the year and half the book for the second half of the year. And it was this giant binder that you would carry around, and it would hold some of your important papers and have the calendar and the 2 days, per day pages and all those things. Had all that stuff in it. Now, because we live in a new technological world, a new space, I can have the experience of writing my planner like I enjoy. I enjoy writing a planner. I don't tend to remember things as clearly if it's in a Google Calendar or in my Outlook. I need to like physically write it down. So maybe I do things in a more convoluted way than you would. But here's what I do that keeps my mind sharp and keeps me engaged. I use the Google Calendar and I use the Outlook calendar in my computer to schedule and accept appointments. So my appointments get accepted, they get added to my calendar, they get synced to my Google Calendar. Okay. And then so everything syncs. And then what I do is day by day, as I get up, my routine is I get up, I have some quiet time, I read some scripture, I meditate on what I'm reading. I look at my calendar for the day and I write my appointments down in my planner. And that way I have a fresh recollection of, okay, what's expected of me today? What is expected of me today in regards to meetings? So what's expected of me today in regard to meetings? And then I kind of overlook the next few days and I might make some notes in those coming days, right? So, Thursday at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be in the WP Tonic podcast. That Friday, I'm going to be on the Membership Machine Show podcast. And so I'll pay attention to that and I'll write that stuff down a few days in advance. But every day I review my daily schedule to make sure I'm not going to miss something. And I write it down in the planner. Then on the next page, I have inspirational thoughts, which for me is what I've read in scripture. The middle part is things I'm focused on, just one or two things. It's not a to-do list. It's one or two things. In fact, what you might have seen in that screen that I shared with you was I actually wrote a message to myself to remember to be nicer to myself. I worked myself into a case of the shingles last week, and that's usually something that is stress related. Funny enough, we're talking about a mini series on anxiety. So by writing it down and having it in a planner, and I'll get to this because it's my thing as a planner journal. So I do the planning and then I give myself that space. That last page is for journaling. So, how did I feel today? How did I feel yesterday? What did I accomplish? What are my inner thoughts on, how's the dog doing? How's my wife doing? How's the neighbor doing? What are my thoughts on, the car being in the shop? What are you begin to flesh some of those things out. And as you write those thoughts down, as you process those thoughts, you relieve yourself of those thoughts. Now, some of the content that we've put out recently has been more of like, what is anxiety, right? So what is anxiety? What is stress? Is there a difference between stress and anxiety? And I've said that sometimes stress can lead to anxiety. Stress is more like stress is something that causes angst in your life that's external, and anxiety causes angst in your life, but it's more of an internal nature. Okay. So just trying to really differentiate things there. So when I say journaling, you can journal yourself to relief through these this talk on anxiety. You're taking the time to slow things down and write it out. Often when I talk to people that say they suffer from anxiety or say that they are super stressed, when I say, "Oh, well, what's going on?" they're not able to articulate in a clear and concise way what is putting the stress on them. And when you can't articulate what is putting the stress on you, I think it tends to get just all miscombobulated. It just gets all twisted up into a web and a nest of nonsense. And that nonsense internally becomes the anxiety. Now, this isn't anxiety in a nutshell for everybody. I am not a therapist. I'm not licensed for any of this. These are just thoughts. These are just thoughts. But in my mind, if I can take that spider web curled up, just miscombobulation of nonsense, if I could take that and I could start to extrapolate it and kind of list it out in a journal format for me. Like if I'm stressed out because the neighbor's sick, like I'm not sick, the neighbor's sick, but it's still adding stress because I'm thinking about it, right? So there's that. What's going on at work? There's that. What's going on at home with the kids? There's that. What's going on with my spouse? There's that. What's going on in our bank account? That's that. If I don't take the time to kind of list that out or to kind of write to myself, have a conversation with myself about the things that are stressing me out or the things that are bothering me, they begin to become bigger than they are. And they begin to encroach on other things and join other things and then become just this giant mess of snot. And we want the least amount of snot as possible. So when I say journaling to relief, I'm really speaking to you from the heart and from experience. And I'm saying, if you haven't journaled yet, do yourself a favor. Even if you just get a plain copybook and you just write the date on it, right? Today's October 30th. So if you just wrote October 30th, tomorrow's the first day of the rest of my life. What's going on today? And you just start to articulate and write some stuff down. I think that you'll find that you begin to feel a little calmer when you can take things and isolate them. So let's say, I mentioned the neighbor's sick, right? So the neighbor's sick. So I write down the neighbor's sick. It's adding stress. I'm thinking about it all the time. Well, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Christ. So I can say a prayer for them, right? I can pray for them. I can pray for the health of my own family. I can pray for the health of my kids. I can pray, I can be thankful. I can thank the Lord for some other things. Start to get that air of gratefulness, right? Like, because a grateful heart is a light heart, right? So what am I grateful for? What blessings do I have? Lord, if you would take care of my neighbor, boom, boom, boom. What has that done? That has isolated one of the issues and it's kind of put a tick box on it. It's kind of said, okay, we handled that one. Did I make the neighbor healthy overnight? No, I didn't. But for my role in the stress, did I relieve that internal stress mechanism by writing it down, saying a quick prayer, and kind of exercising on that line? Did I help myself in that regard? I'm going to say yes. Yes, I've processed that thought. I've given that particular thought closure. So now I can go to bank account. Okay, what's up with the bank account? Well, we got a checking, we got a savings, we got another checking for business, we got this one. Okay, settle down. What's going on? Some money coming in, some money going out, savings is allocated. Let's do a review of the bank account right now. While we're journaling, why don't we just do a quick review of the bank account? What's coming in? What's going out? As an entrepreneur, where's my accounts payable? Where's my accounts receivable? What have clients committed to? What can I execute on? Can I take something out of savings if I need to? Do I need to move something from a different checking to another checking? How do I keep everything floating? Get that thought processed. That's another tick box gone, right? You having a problem with one of the kids? Make a mental decision. Do I want to deal with that today? Do I want to deal with it some other day? But keep it like a separate, slowed down, manageable thought. Because if we don't slow things down and we don't break things out to think about them independently, then we tend to think about them as a giant thing. How do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do we deal with all of life's problems? One problem at a time, right? And so use the journaling experience to kind of make yourself a checklist and be like, okay, check, got it, check, got it, check, got it. Okay. So if you combine your journaling with your planning, similar to what I do, now what I've done is I have released my brain thought on, oh my God, what do I got going on today? What do I got going on today? Because I planned it, right? So I have a plan for my day. I know how to execute my day. And then I use the journal to kind of process my thoughts of a day. Now, some people do it in different ways. Some people will have like that middle page I talked about with like inspiration for the day and then notes. They'll use that note section to be like, this is what I want to accomplish today. These are my goals of the day. This is how I want to conquer this day. And then in the journal side, at night, they'll journal at night and they'll say, based on the goals I had set, I accomplished A, B, and C. I didn't accomplish D, blah, 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 right? That's another way that you can journal, right? Because you could say, okay, from an entrepreneur perspective, was I productive or unproductive? And so it's an interesting way to go. Now, before we go, or if I take too long on this, I don't want to be crazy like that. What I want to do is I'm going to open up the screen share, and this is the Anxiety WP website that I had made last week. And so we have been continuing to add content to the page. And if we take a look at what we've got here, we added a post yesterday, and it was surprise, surprise about journaling. So let me share this with you real quick. So if we go to the blog and we look at, jot it down is the thumbnail or the featured image for it. And we have journaling to ease anxiety, a practical guide for stress relief. I started to put this together and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And it turned into almost like a mini ebook in this post. This post is long. I'm going to tell you the post is long. So understanding stress versus anxiety, because I think it's important to define them. What are the causes and symptoms of stress? So we break into, and I wanted to use other sources. This is not the opinion of Kurt. We've got WebMD in here, the Psychological Association, Forbes, had an article on stress. So we wanted to make sure that we connected all that stuff in there. There's one by Very Well Mind, University of Rochester is in here. And so we wanted to make sure that we brought in other thoughts, other opinions about these things. And then I put how to start a journaling practice. And what I wanted to link you to was our course. It's a free course. Don't worry about it. In this website, it's a free course. And so if I were to open this in a new tab, it's going to take you to a journaling course. Let's see here, share this tab instead. There we go. And it's simple. I didn't make it super big and super involved because it's not for sale. It's for free. So you don't need a sales page or any of that stuff. But it just goes in here and it says, full course on the power of journaling, join for free. And it gives you all the benefits that I could see for journaling that make sense. So it's the power of journaling, the obvious benefits, where the magic happens, your physical health. There's a journal for everything. So different types of journaling. Like I said earlier, everyone has their own preferred method. Journaling tips, prompts, and conclusion. Prompts was interesting. If you got nothing else out of today's talk or out of this course, it's just looking at these prompts. What are you looking forward to today? Then you can write about that. What's your earliest memory? You could write something about that. Who are the 3 most influential people in your life and how have they impacted you? That's a really deep one. That's a fun one to do. Write 12 things you'd like to do over the next year, right? So create yourself a bucket list. What has surprised you? If you're in the WordPress space, oh my goodness, have we got some things to talk about, right? What is your perfect day? What is something you'd like to learn? I think this is another great one to explore if you're new to journaling. What are 5 things you like about yourself? Talk about relieving anxiety, right? You're going to give yourself positive reinforcement by saying, well, I could write a post about how much I complain about myself, or I could write an entry about what are 5 things I like about myself. And it sounds self-serving and weird, but this whole topic is self-serving and weird. So let's not get off of that, right? List off 6 things you've learned recently that you find fascinating. you might open up your journal and start to write about how you learned about journaling through Manana No Mas and Anxiety WP and Kurt Von Onen. That would be fun. All right. So I'm going to take you back to this tab here. So this runs us into how to start a journaling practice. And then the rest of the post goes on and it talks about the right tools, the frequency of journaling, types of journaling techniques. Do you want to free write? Do you want to follow a process? Are you going to use like prompts? Gratitude journaling. I just talked about that, right? It's focus on positivity. When we do that, it makes the whole thing lighter. It helps our mood, helps us deal with others. Tips for successful journaling. Some of that is just staying consistent and sticking with it, right? Challenges. I'm going to tell you firsthand, if I don't do this on a daily basis, it turns into a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks without touching the stupid thing. And I've noticed what happens is I'll start to lose track of things. I'll start to miss meetings. Things just don't seem right. I seem out of balance. I seem like I'm chasing my tail. And then I realize, oh, I haven't been doing the planner journal thing. And then I get back onto the planner journal wagon. I start following my own process. And the funny thing about process, we all say we hate it, but when we follow it, we seem to be more efficient and better tempered. That's what I want to say. Better tempered, right? Because you kind of know what to expect. And so we've got some frequently asked questions, and we run through some frequently asked questions about the journaling and, of course, give you a conclusion. Like I said, it's a long post. I can't really apologize for the length of the post. The best I can do is warn you in advance that it's a fairly long post. So I'm going to go out and say it again. This particular topic, when I started talking about stress and anxiety, we started to get likes, shares, follows. Now, coincidentally, I did get a blue check mark on Twitter, on X, and my check mark on X seems to be driving some more subscriptions and followings as well. But whether it be the check mark or it be this content, it seems like this content is resonating with people. So I just want to stress as much as I possibly can. This is our effort to pay it forward. I am completely open to people that also find a passion in this space, that might have a different viewpoint, that might want to contribute any kind of content or things that they deem essential to their battle and anxiety. I have a different take than some do. And so I'm completely open to different ideas, different personalities, different people coming in. And in our own little space, our own little WordPress space. Now, I realize that talking about anxiety is very general purpose, right? But in the WordPress space, something where I consider myself to be somewhat of an expert and friends with other experts, I really think that there is a pay it forward value here where, we're going to help people find success and calmness and really teach people to extend themselves some grace as they struggle to build their agencies and get ahead in this WordPress world. WordPress is weird because it's open source software, but you can make money using it, right? And then so you get into this weird space like, well, is it volunteer? Is it contributor? Do I charge enough? I'm amazed at what some people, like somebody would pay a Kajabi expert tens of thousands of dollars to help someone set up a Kajabi website. And then you look at WordPress and you can custom build your own interface. You own your data. You can put Fluent CRM in there and build yourself a mail list. And you can go crazy with that WordPress website. And you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of agencies that would charge tens of thousands of dollars to set that up. And that to me is really interesting, right? It's really telling that there's a lack of value associated in some WordPress spaces where that value is expressed but not realized, through dollars and cents. And I want to encourage people to recognize their value, lower the stress by recognizing that value, slow things down a hair, and be gentle to yourself, be kind to yourself. And this tool I'm talking about today, journaling, it's been a game changer for me. I can say it personally. I don't consider myself to be someone that really suffers from anxiety. Do I suffer from stress? Yes, I say yes to a lot of projects, and I have a lot of verticals, and I have a lot of things to track. And that can result in a stressful environment if I don't manage myself well. But through project management skills, I find that I'm able to keep track of things pretty readily. It's when I don't follow the process that I get overly stressed out or miss something. All right. That all said, folks, I love talking to you. I'm sorry I missed the live on schedule today. I can't apologize enough for that. I consider myself to be a pretty solid cat. And in this regard, I wasn't very solid. So, with that, on behalf of Anxiety WP and Mañana No Mas, I will talk to you another time. Have a great day. Bye bye.